Amid long days crowded with notifications, noise, and thoughts that refuse to come to rest, the modern human mind is rarely granted true reprieve. We grow weary not only in body, but in consciousness itself, stretched thin by the quiet pressure of what to do next, who we are meant to become, how deeply we must understand this world. And sometimes what we need is not another answer, but a space wide enough to let the breath slow down again. In this video, you are not asked to remember the names of planets, nor to keep pace with any stream of knowledge. This is not a lesson. It is a journey, unhurried, gently carrying you away from the thoughts that keep circling, allowing you to drift outward alongside the solar system, alongside silent worlds turning patiently in the dark. As we move from the planet closest to the sun toward the unseen edge where light itself nearly dissolves, each world appears like a whispered story about time, limitation, loss, and balance. Not to explain the universe, but to softly reflect you back to yourself. As Carl Sagan once wrote, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known." Right now, you do not need to find it. Simply lie still, listen, and let this journey carry you very slowly into a depth of quiet where sleep can arrive on its own. Perhaps what exhausts us most in modern life is not a lack of information, but an excess of tempo. Everything moves too quickly: news, expectations, comparisons, plans. The mind is pulled along without pause, like a train with no station, always required to move forward without knowing where it is going. And within that constant motion, we slowly forget something deeply ancient in us, the human ability to move slowly. This journey begins there. Not as a lesson, not as a list of things to remember, but as a deliberate pause. A gentle permission for you to stop keeping up with anything at all. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to remember names. You do not need to check or verify concepts. Everything here is spoken in order to pass through you, not to stay. We will travel outward from the sun very slowly, not to conquer space, but to soften the movement within. Each planet is its own chapter, like isolated islands at night, each carrying a different rhythm of time. And what matters is not where you are, but what you feel as you listen. In ancient philosophy, wisdom was once believed to arise not from knowing more, but from aligning oneself with the rhythm of nature. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor living amid war and heavy responsibility, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This was not advice to control everything, but a reminder that there exists a place quiet and deep where you can return, where external turbulence no longer governs the rhythm of your breath. The journey through the solar system is like this. It does not ask you to react. It does not require judgment, only presence. Each repeating orbit, each steady circular motion whispers that the universe is not in a hurry. It was moving for billions of years before anyone observed it, and it will continue long after every question grows silent. When we say departure, we usually imagine acceleration. But here, departure means slowing down, releasing the need to fully understand, accepting that some things are meant to be felt, not explained. In depth psychology, Carl Jung once suggested that human wholeness is not reached by endlessly expanding consciousness, but by allowing the unconscious enough space to speak in its own voice. Night, therefore, is always a doorway. This is why the voice of this journey does not urge you to stay awake. It does not seek to rouse you. Instead, it allows you to soften, to let layers of defense thin, to let the mind stop controlling, stop searching for conclusions. Each sentence is placed like a light step on sand, leaving no lasting trace, yet enough for you to sense the direction. There is a gentle paradox in looking at the universe. The farther we look, the smaller we become, and within that smallness, we often find comfort. Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. But what is less often said is this: not everything worth knowing needs to be known right now. Some things are meant to be left alone, like stars that continue to exist quietly, even when no one names them. So this opening chapter is not meant to bring you to a specific planet. It creates a state, a mental space where you are allowed to rest, allowed not to understand, allowed not to follow. If you fall asleep partway through, the journey continues because it does not depend on your attention. And if you remain awake, let the images drift by like clouds without holding on. In the Republic. Plato once suggested that the human soul is like a body of water. When stirred, we cannot see its depth. Only when the surface becomes still do images appear clearly. Night is the most natural time for that surface to settle, and the universe with its steady, undemanding motions becomes a vast mirror for the soul. So before we leave the sun, before we speak of temperature, mass, or orbit, pause here for a moment. Breathe in slowly, breathe out longer. There is nowhere you need to go. You are already in the right place. This journey is not measured in distance, but in depth of stillness. And if there is anything to carry at departure, it is only a small permission to move slowly, permission not to know what waits ahead. From here, we will begin to drift away from the center of light little by little. But even now, in this first chapter, the most important thing has already happened. Your mind has begun to soften. As we leave the familiar warmth around Earth and begin drifting closer to the sun, the rhythm of the journey shifts almost imperceptibly. Light grows harsher, shadows deepen, and concepts that once felt stable, day, year, heat, cold, start to slip away from their everyday meanings. Here on Mercury, time no longer behaves as we expect it to. It bends, slows, stretches into an unfamiliar shape, as if the universe were quietly reminding us that every measure depends on where you stand. Mercury is a small world, but it is anything but simple. A year there lasts only 88 Earth days. Yet a single solar day from one sunrise to the next stretches to 176 Earth days. A day longer than a year. A gentle paradox where motion no longer follows intuition. The planet spins in a rare resonance, 3 rotations on its axis for every 2 orbits around the sun. The result is a distorted clock in the Mercurian sky, where the sun can appear to pause, drift backward for a moment, and then continue on its path forward. If you were standing there on that ancient cratered surface, you would see light moving slowly, almost with weight. And with the light comes temperature pushed to extremes the human body can scarcely imagine. By day, the ground is heated beyond 400 degrees Celsius. By night, with no atmosphere to hold warmth, temperatures plunge into deep cold. Fire and ice coexist on the same world, separated by only a few steps, especially near the polar craters where sunlight never reaches and water ice can rest undisturbed for millions of years, silent in eternal shadow. This contrast is more than a physical phenomenon. It feels like a quiet metaphor for the human mind itself. We too carry regions constantly exposed to light where pressure, expectation, and tension heat our thoughts day after day. And at the same time, we hold deep, dark corners where unnamed memories, fears, and desires lie still cold, untouched. Mercury reminds us that these states can exist side by side without canceling one another out. This small planet keeps another subtle secret, its own magnetic field weak but real. Among small rocky worlds, this is rare. Inside Mercury lies an unusually large metallic core, still active enough to generate a fragile shield against the solar wind. It is not strong. It is not perfect. But it exists like a reminder that even in the harshest environments, protection can appear in minimal form yet still be enough. Mercury's surface is a chronicle written in stone. Overlapping impact craters, lava plains cooled long ago, vast fault cliffs stretching hundreds of kilometers, all tell the story of a world that shrank as its core cooled, leaving wrinkles across its crust. Here, time does not erase traces. It accumulates them, it layers them, and each layer is a memory from the solar system's earliest days when everything was chaotic, colliding, still searching for balance. There is something quietly instructive about observing Mercury. It forces us to release the idea that time is absolute. Mercury's orbit, with its perihelion advancing faster than Newtonian mechanics could explain, once puzzled scientists deeply. Only with the arrival of general relativity did its motion fully make sense. Albert Einstein wrote in Relativity, "The special and the general theory, time and space, are modes by which we think and not conditions in which we live." On Mercury, this idea becomes almost tangible. Time is not a fixed stream. It is an experience stretched and bent by gravity and motion. Listening to this story at night in a quiet room, you may begin to feel your own sense of time slowing as well. Your breath lengthens. The space between thoughts widens. The anxieties that felt sharp during the day begin to lose their edge. Like Mercury, your mind does not have to operate at the world's shared tempo. It can choose a different resonance, a rhythm of its own, and from that rhythm, a very small kind of healing can emerge, not by eliminating tension, but by changing how we stand within time. Mercury does not try to make its days and years resemble anyone else's. It accepts the strange shape of its motion and exists fully within it. Perhaps humans can do the same. We do not need to force ourselves into a single measure of success, speed, or meaning. As the journey continues outward, light will soften, atmospheres will thicken, and other stories will slowly unfold. But here on Mercury, we have already learned something gentle. Time can bend, and we can bend with it. No resistance required, only adjustment. And in that moment, as you let the narration slow to match the orbit of a small, quiet planet, sleep may arrive not as collapse, but as drift, like the light on Mercury slipping below the horizon, leaving darkness that is unhurried, non-threatening, simply another natural phase of the cycle. We will leave Mercury very slowly, carrying the feeling that not everything must move quickly. Some worlds and some souls are born to live within different rhythms of time. Leaving behind the distorted tempo of Mercury, the journey continues outward very slowly, as if the universe were loosening its heated grip around the sun. The light softens slightly, distance increases, and then a world appears brilliant, smooth in the glow of twilight Venus. From afar, it is beautiful enough that for thousands of years, humans named it the morning star, the evening star, a symbol of love and beauty. But here, the story quietly turns in another direction. Resemblance does not guarantee the same fate. Venus is nearly the same size as Earth, comparable in mass, similar in rocky composition. Judged only by basic numbers, the two planets could be mistaken for twins. Yet, as we draw closer, Venus's thick cloud cover closes in like a sealed door, and behind it lies a world utterly different. A world where the atmosphere has crossed a point of balance, where heat is endlessly trapped, where the surface is baked beyond 460 degrees Celsius, hotter than Mercury, despite being farther from the sun. Here, the atmosphere is no longer a gentle blanket. It becomes a cage. Carbon dioxide fills nearly the entire sky, so dense that surface pressure rivals the depths of Earth's oceans. Clouds of sulfuric acid race around the planet, driven by super-rotating winds that circle the globe in just a few days, while the planet itself turns painfully slowly and backward. On Venus, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. A day lasts longer than a year. Time itself seems inverted not only in the sky, but in the very logic of habitability. There is something profoundly human in Venus's tragedy, not because it resembles us, but because it shows how a small change in initial conditions can bend an entire path toward a point of no return. In existential philosophy, this idea is familiar. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Twilight of the Idols, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." But Venus reminds us that chaos, if left unchecked, if deprived of self-regulating mechanisms, can turn that dancing star into an endless furnace. There were no oceans to absorb excess heat, no plate tectonics to recycle atmospheric gases, no strong magnetic field to shield the upper atmosphere from the solar wind. Each missing element, subtle on its own, contributed to pushing Venus beyond a critical threshold. And once crossed, there was no way back. The greenhouse effect became a self-amplifying loop, warming, trapping heat, warming further until every means of regulation was erased. Space probes that have touched Venus's surface survived only minutes. They returned blurred, distorted images as though seen through a fever dream. Shattered rock, cracked plains, the dull orange light of a heavy sky. No sign of water, no room to breathe. A world inhospitable to life as we know it, and precisely for that reason, a quiet warning. Venus did not fail because it was bad. It failed because balance was lost, and that loss unfolded silently without sudden catastrophe. In psychology, we recognize similar processes: accumulated stress, suppressed emotion, conditions that are not yet severe but prolonged, until one day the system can no longer self-regulate. And then collapse arrives not as shock, but as inevitability. Hannah Arendt once wrote in The Human Condition, "The most radical revolutionary will become a conservative the day after the revolution." Less a political statement than a reminder that any system pushed to extremes loses flexibility. Venus is a planet that went too far in one direction, the direction of retention, accumulation, refusal to release. And in that refusal, it locked itself inside its own atmosphere. Listening to this story at night, you may recognize a familiar feeling, the sensation of holding too much, holding expectations, holding pressure, holding thoughts that circle without exit. Venus does not teach us to fear the future. It gently reminds us that survival depends on regulation, not endless accumulation. The planet still turns very slowly beneath its thick clouds. It does not suffer, it does not regret. It simply exists as the conditions have shaped it. And within that existence, there is a strange stillness. No sudden storms, no rapid change. Only a stable state, but a lifeless one. As we prepare to leave Venus carrying its heavy lesson, the narration slows even further. Not to alarm, but to soothe. Venus is not here to frighten us. It is here to offer a chance to look again at Earth and at ourselves from a distance wide enough to see clearly. If Mercury taught us that time can bend, Venus teaches us that atmospheres, both external and internal, shape destiny. What we surround ourselves with, what we hold in, and what we allow to escape will gradually define the world we inhabit. And in this quiet night, as the voice softens, as Venus fades behind its acid clouds, you need not think of climate change or distant scenarios. Simply listen to your breath. Lighter, longer. Allow a small space to open. We will continue outward toward a blue planet where fragile balance has been preserved long enough for life to bloom. But before we arrive there, let Venus's lesson settle like a whisper. Not everything that looks alike will follow the same path, and gentleness toward the systems within ourselves is sometimes the very thing that saves us. After leaving the heavy atmosphere of Venus behind, the journey carries us a little farther outward, just far enough for the light to soften, just far enough for heat to no longer feel imprisoned. And then, in the quiet of space, a familiar world appears. Not the brightest, not the largest, but the only place where life has patiently remained for billions of years. Earth. An imperfect planet, yet rare for having held its balance. What makes Earth different is not a single factor, not water alone, not air alone, not merely the just right distance from the sun. It is that all of these elements exist together, adjusting one another like a slow harmony, constantly retuning itself to avoid slipping into extremes. After the heavy lesson of Venus, Earth appears as a quiet answer. Life does not require perfection. It requires the ability to self-regulate. Water covers most of this planet's surface, not only as a chemical component, but as a vast thermal memory. The oceans absorb energy when it is too warm, release it when it is too cold, softening violent swings. Water flows, evaporates, condenses, and falls again, repeating the same simple cycle over billions of years. Within that persistence, the atmosphere is moderated. Temperatures remain within livable bounds, and life is given enough time to experiment, to fail, and to adapt. Earth's atmosphere is not thick enough to become a prison, nor thin enough to be stripped away. It is a delicate blend of nitrogen, oxygen, and trace gases so small they are easy to overlook, yet decisive in shaping fate. Even a slight shift in those proportions could send everything askew. And yet, for most of Earth's history, the atmosphere has remained within a remarkably stable range, guided by the slow interplay of rock, water, living organisms, and light. Beneath what seems like a calm surface, Earth is never still. Tectonic plates drift slowly, only a few centimeters each year, slower than fingernails grow. And yet that slowness is the key. Plate tectonics recycle carbon, subduct old crust, raise new land, and prevent the atmosphere from accumulating beyond control. Earth does not allow everything to pile up. It continually releases and renews, even though this process unfolds far beyond direct human perception. Perhaps this is why, when seen from afar, Earth appears so peaceful. But this peace is not stagnation. It is the result of countless small, steady, unremarkable motions. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Earth is much the same. Its stability does not come from the absence of disturbance, but from the capacity to absorb and disperse disturbance gently. Another factor often forgotten, because it is invisible, is the magnetic field. Deep within Earth's core, molten metal moves slowly, generating a shield around the planet. It does not block everything, but it deflects much of the solar wind, preserves the atmosphere, and protects the surface from lethal radiation. Without it, Earth might have followed the path of Mars, cold, dry, exposed. Yet the magnetic field remains quietly present, needing no display to prove its importance. Earth thus becomes a reference point. When humans look outward in search of other worlds, the question is not, how are they different from us, but in what ways are they like Earth? Do they have water, an atmosphere, a magnetic field, long-term regulation? Earth is not the center of the universe, but it is the only measure we possess, not out of arrogance, but because we deeply understand only one place, the one we inhabit. And yet what makes Earth truly remarkable is not only physics or chemistry, it is that life itself has become part of the balancing process. Living beings do not merely adapt to their environment, they change it, and must then adapt to those changes in return. Plants release oxygen, organisms breathe it in, microbes regulate chemical cycles, and the entire system becomes a complex web of feedback. Life does not stand outside balance, it participates in it. In The Phenomenon of Life, philosopher Hans Jonas emphasized that life is always fragile and that this very fragility compels it to maintain a subtle relationship with its surroundings. Earth is the greatest demonstration of this truth. It is not immune to change. It has simply been fortunate and persistent enough to sustain adjustment long enough for life to grow diverse and eventually conscious enough to reflect upon itself. Listening to Earth's story at night, you may recognize something deeply familiar. Balance is not a permanent state. It is an ongoing process requiring attention and care, just like the human mind. We never achieve peace and keep it forever. We can only return again and again, recalibrating our breath, our thoughts, our pace of living. Carl Jung once wrote in Modern Man in Search of a Soul, "The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Earth oscillates in much the same way between heat and cold, chaos and order. What matters is that the pendulum has not yet swung so far that it cannot return. At least, not yet." As the journey prepares to leave Earth, the voice slows a little more. Not out of nostalgia, but out of recognition of how fragile the familiar truly is. Earth is not guaranteed. It is being maintained moment by delicate balances. And within that understanding lies a quiet form of healing, realizing that life persists not through force, but through the ability to hold just enough. We will continue outward to the moon, the companion that steadies Earth's rhythm, and then farther still. But before leaving, let the image of this blue planet settle in your mind like a deep breath. No need to worry, no need to conclude. Simply feel that within a vast, cold universe there has been and still is a rare point of balance. And you are there now, held by it very gently. When leaving Earth, the journey does not need to go far at once. Just a short distance enough to look back at the blue planet from the outside is sufficient to sense a subtle shift. The reflected light grows softer, motion slows, and there, within the familiar quiet of the night sky, the moon appears. Not as a new destination, but as a companion that has been there for a very long time, silently keeping the rhythm for everything unfolding below. The moon is not a large planet. It has no thick atmosphere, no vast oceans, no life as we know it. Yet its role far exceeds its size. The moon is like a steady heartbeat within a complex body, not loud, not showy, but without it, the entire system would lose balance. Perhaps this is why, since ancient times, humans have looked up at the moon not only to measure time, but to seek comfort. The moon's origin is a story of collision and rebirth. More than 4 billion years ago, the young Earth endured a colossal impact with a Mars-sized body. Matter was flung outward, then slowly gathered, cooled, and became the moon. A part of Earth, in a very literal sense, separated to become a companion. From a violent disruption, a stable relationship emerged. In philosophy, such stories are familiar. From chaos, order can arise. The moon orbits Earth in a particular way, always turning one face toward us. The near side familiar, the far side mysterious. This tidal locking turns the moon into a one-sided mirror, intimate yet never fully seen. There is something deeply human in this relationship. We too have parts that are always visible, roles, habits, familiar answers, and other parts that face the darkness, existing only for ourselves. But the most important influence is invisible. The moon's gravity pulls the oceans up and down, creating the tides. This rise and fall is not merely the movement of water, it is the planet's long breath. Tides have shaped coastlines, creating boundary zones between land and sea, places where life could experiment with its earliest steps. That steady rhythm, repeating over billions of years, gave biology enough time to learn how to adapt. Beyond this, the moon helps stabilize Earth's axial tilt. Without it, the planet's rotation could wobble wildly, producing extreme and unpredictable climate shifts. With the moon, the seasons become regular, not perfectly fixed, but steady enough for life to endure over long spans of time. In The Timeless Way of Building, Christopher Alexander wrote, "In order to be alive, a pattern must be precise. The moon is part of that precise pattern, a small detail that keeps the whole from slipping out of alignment. When we look at the moon at night, what we see is not its own light, but reflected light. The moon does not shine by itself, it receives and returns. Perhaps this is why, across cultures, it has been linked to inner reflection. It does not impose, it does not demand, it simply remains, offering just enough illumination so we do not lose our way in the dark." Philosopher Gaston Bachelard once wrote "The poetics of space immensity is within ourselves. The moon, though small in the sky, opens a sense of vastness within. It slows thought, draws the gaze away from immediate concerns, and places them within a larger, quieter context. When the mind settles into familiar cycles, full and waning light and dark, momentary anxieties begin to lose their urgency. The moon's influence reaches deeper into biology than we often realize. The biological rhythms of many species, and perhaps of humans as well, have been shaped by moonlight and tides over immense stretches of time. Though modern science still debates the degree of direct influence, it is undeniable that the moon structured Earth's nights long before electricity, long before clocks. Its rhythm was slow, regular, predictable, an ideal foundation for a sense of safety. When humanity first began to leave Earth, the moon became the first step. Not only because of its proximity, but because it offered a place to be outside the familiar world while still holding on to a thread of connection. The footprints on the moon are not only technological achievements, they are symbols of trust that we can go far, yet return. That the sky is not only a place for dreaming, but a place we can touch. In man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The moon does not change quickly, it does not react to short-term fluctuations, but its persistence compels Earth and humanity to adjust in response to seek stability from within, rather than waiting for the outside world to adapt to us. As the journey continues, we will leave the moon and travel farther outward toward worlds where rhythms no longer feel familiar. But before departing, remain here a little longer. Look back at Earth from lunar orbit. See the oceans, the clouds, the continents all moving very slowly, very steadily. And recognize that much of that stability is not accidental. It is held in rhythm by a silent companion. In this quiet night, as the narration lowers, as imagined moonlight settles across the room you are in, there is no need to think of orbits or gravity. Simply feel that familiar rhythm within yourself, the rise and fall of breath, the heart settling into an even pace. The moon has done its work for billions of years, keeping things from moving too fast, from drifting too far. And right now, it is still doing that very gently, so you can drift into sleep held by a rhythm that has been cared for over an immeasurably long time. Leaving the familiar orbit of the moon, the rhythm of the journey remains unhurried. There is no sudden leap into distant emptiness, only a longer drift where light grows thinner and Earth's blue slowly recedes into a gentle memory. Ahead, Mars appears without spectacle, a muted red disk like an old journal page coated in dust. And the moment we see it, something familiar yet lost can be felt, a world that once lived. Mars carries the shape of silent extremes, enormous volcanoes so tall that from their summits the curve of the planet reveals itself. Canyons stretching thousands of kilometers like deep fractures in a crust long dried. Plains covered in red dust where time itself seems to have slowed to stillness. And yet beneath this dryness lie unmistakable traces of water, not vague speculation, but memory etched into stone. Ancient river channels winding across the surface-wide deltas, minerals that form only when liquid water persists over long spans of time. All tell the same quiet story. Mars was once wet, once wrapped in a thicker atmosphere, once warm enough for water to remain stable. Not briefly, but for millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of years. Long enough to raise a calm but unavoidable question: could life have once existed here? That question is not asked in haste. On Mars, everything unfolds slowly, very slowly. Rivers dried long ago. Winds still blow, but only enough to move dust. And in this slowness, memory is preserved. There is no plate tectonics to erase traces, no oceans to grind rock away. Mars is like a natural archive where each sediment layer is a stored page. What is sad and instructive is that we see no life there now. One of Mars's clearest lessons lies deep beneath its surface, the loss of a global magnetic field. As the planet's core cooled and its motion weakened, the magnetic shield faded. Without that invisible protection, the atmosphere was gradually stripped away by the solar wind, slowly, patiently, over billions of years. There was no sudden catastrophe, only continual loss, quiet and persistent, until the planet could no longer maintain enough pressure to keep liquid water on its surface. There is a particular sorrow in such a collapse, not an abrupt ending, but the retreat of conditions necessary for life. Mars did not die in the usual sense. It simply ceased to be livable. And this returns us to very old philosophical questions: what allows a system to endure, and what causes it to quietly unravel? Albert Camus once wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." Mars seems to have struggled in its own way to hold water, to hold atmosphere, to hold warmth. And when it could no longer do so, the planet continued to exist, bare, honest, without pretense. No justification, no attempt to resemble what it once was. One small but haunting detail remains: methane, a gas detected in concentrations that change with the seasons. On Earth, methane is often linked to biology, though it can also arise from geological reactions. On Mars, its source is still unknown. It appears, disappears, then appears again, like a faint whisper from a world long silent. Not enough to conclude anything, but enough to keep the question alive. Perhaps that is Mars's greatest role in this journey: to keep the question open. It offers no clear answer about life beyond Earth, but it provides context. A world once similar to Earth, now following a different path. Just a few small differences, mass magnetic field position, and an entire destiny shifts. Carl Sagan once wrote in Cosmos, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known." Mars does not promise wonder in a dramatic sense, but it waits patiently to be understood. Each layer of rock, each grain of dust, each remaining molecule of gas is a quiet invitation. Look more closely, more slowly, and do not rush to conclude. When we send robotic explorers to Mars, we are not only searching for biological fossils, we are learning how to read a planet's memory, how to distinguish what remains from what has been lost, how to recognize that habitability is not permanent, but a fragile balance that must be sustained. At a deeper level, Mars becomes a subdued mirror for Earth, not to frighten, but to remind that atmospheres can thin, that magnetic fields can weaken, that what seems foundational can disappear if conditions change long enough. There is no loud warning, only the difference between once was and now is. As the narration slows further, as images of dry valleys and extinct volcanoes drift through the mind, there is no need to hold every detail. No need to remember mineral names or pressure values. Just hold one gentle feeling: a world that once could support life and no longer does. And from that, a quiet gratitude for what still exists around us. Mars does not hurry to tell its story. It has waited in silence for billions of years. And even now, in the quiet night in which you are listening, it remains there, dark, red, distant, reminding us that the memory of a world can endure long after life has departed. The journey will continue toward gas giants, hidden oceans, radiant rings. But before moving farther, let Mars remain in your mind as a necessary pause, a place where the question of life is not answered, but gently preserved. And within that pause, when everything has slowed enough to no longer demand immediate understanding, you may allow yourself to loosen, like a planet gradually cooling after a long history, like a final thought dissolving before sleep arrives very softly and very still. As we leave Mars, the world of memory and loss, the journey begins to change its breath. The space ahead no longer carries the dry red hues or the fragile traces of life that once existed. In their place arises a different sensation altogether, the presence of weight. Not weight as pressure, but weight as foundation, like an invisible force keeping everything from drifting too far away. Jupiter appears as a pillar in the dark. There is no surface to stand upon, no clear boundary between above and below. Only slow rolling bands of cloud, twisting together in rhythms older than any civilization. Here, movement does not aim toward an end. It simply continues like the solar system's immense breathing. Jupiter is the largest planet, yet its importance is not merely a matter of size. It is the second center of gravity after the Sun, a quiet timekeeper adjusting orbits, bending the paths of smaller bodies. Some asteroids are pulled aside, some comets are held back, some trajectories are stabilized, and some chaos is created. Jupiter does not distinguish between protection and disruption. It does only what its mass compels it to do. Storms on Jupiter are unlike storms on Earth. They do not come and go. They remain. The Great Red Spot, a colossal vortex that has endured for centuries, turns slowly, tirelessly. There are no oceans to absorb energy, no continents to block the flow. Only gas pressure and time. A great deal of time. Within this motion lies a strange calm, as though chaos, when extended long enough, becomes order. Beneath the thick cloud layers is a world that cannot be touched. Pressure increases. Hydrogen is compressed until it becomes metallic, conductive, generating the strongest magnetic field among the planets. An ocean not of water, but of force and electric currents. Jupiter's magnetosphere stretches millions of kilometers, vast enough to gather many moons within its invisible embrace. Their charged particles accelerate auroras flare not because of the sun, but because of the planet's own inner power. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up, if thou wilt always look." Jupiter seems a physical embodiment of that line. It does not rely on external light to sustain its vitality. It radiates energy from within, a reminder that some systems exist not to serve, but to hold structure for the whole. Jupiter's role in the history of the solar system has never been neutral. Its gravity may have prevented a rocky planet from forming between Mars and itself, giving rise to the asteroid belt. At the same time, that very pull may have helped deliver water and organic rich material inward to the region where Earth was taking shape. Protection and disturbance. Stability and upheaval, two faces of the same power. In philosophy, we often seek balance as an ideal state, but Jupiter suggests another understanding. Balance is not stillness, it is the outcome of larger forces drawing smaller ones along. There is no absolute peace, only stability that lasts long enough for things to continue. Seen from afar, Jupiter's cream, brown, and pale red cloud bands drift across the eye like a wordless composition. No clear crescendo, no ending. Each band is its own current, yet all revolve around a shared axis, an order that requires no observer to exist. It recalls an ancient reflection: the world does not operate for us, but we may find comfort in knowing that it operates nonetheless. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." Jupiter does not give birth to stars, yet it holds enough chaos for other worlds to exist. And perhaps in the same way, the disturbances within the human interior are not always something to be erased. Sometimes they are what keeps a deeper structure from collapsing. As the journey moves deeper into the realm of the gas giants, Jupiter stands like a gateway. Beyond it, everything grows larger, slower, and more distant. But before leaving, it is possible to pause here for a moment within the vast magnetosphere, where there is no surface, no familiar boundary, only force, motion, and rhythm. In the quiet night, as you listen, as the body gradually releases its tension, Jupiter can be felt not as a distant planet, but as a metaphor for silent support. There are things in life that do not directly bring joy, that are not clearly good or bad, yet without them, everything else would lose its bearings. Like Jupiter, they do not require constant attention. They need only to exist large enough, steady enough for smaller movements to unfold safely. In recognizing this, the mind can loosen its need for control. There is no need to understand every storm, no need to reach the deepest core. Simply drift with the common rhythm slowly and allow sleep to arrive like a natural orbit, unforced, held in place by forces that have been quietly at work for a very long time, very far away. Having grown accustomed to Jupiter's slow, heavy breathing, we do not depart at once. Instead, the journey settles one layer deeper, as when a piece of music shifts into a lower register, fewer melodies, more structure. Around the gas giant, 4 large moons move in steady paths, each a world with its own story, yet all held within the same gravitational embrace. Not by chance, not by chaos, but as a small system of different possibilities coexisting beneath a single field of force. If Jupiter is the heartbeat, these 4 moons are 4 states of potential life, once present, perhaps present, possibly present, or never present at all. Fire, ice, oceans, and memory. There is no need to rush. We drift past each world as though turning the pages of a thick, ancient book, each page carrying the scent of time. Io is the first we encounter, not because it is peaceful, but because it is not. Io is the most volcanically violent world we know. Its surface is constantly remade by lava. No lasting marks, no enduring memory. Everything is happening now. The cause lies not within Io itself, but outside it. Immense tidal forces from Jupiter amplified by orbital resonance with its sister moons. That pull bends heats and forces Io to release energy without rest. Io resembles a mind that never pauses. There is no space for settling, no place for the past to remain. And in this image lies a gentle but clear lesson. Constant motion is not the same as progress. Sometimes it is only expenditure. Fire can keep things vivid, but without intervals of stillness, without a surface on which traces can remain, no history is ever written. Leaving Io, the journey softens as Europa comes into view. A white, fractured ice shell crossed by smooth lines like fingerprints. Beneath that ice lies not cold rock, but a global ocean, salty deep, kept warm by tidal energy. No sunlight reaches it. The atmosphere is thin, and yet liquid water exists, the most familiar condition for life as we know it. Europa does not announce itself. It sends no loud signals. It hides its possibilities beneath ice like a deep thought that does not need to be spoken. In philosophy, this image returns again and again. The most important things are not found on the surface. They reside where access is difficult, where proof is uncertain, yet endurance is strong. Hannah Arendt once wrote in The Life of the Mind, "Thinking itself is dangerous." Europa is a world of thinking in that sense, not because it threatens, but because it demands that we live with uncertainty. We do not know whether life exists there, but the mere fact that an ocean can persist so far from the sun is enough to widen our understanding of where life might arise. And sometimes widening the question matters more than arriving quickly at an answer. Next comes Ganymede, the largest moon of all, even larger than Mercury. Ganymede holds something rare, its own magnetic field. An active core and internal structure strong enough to generate an invisible shield. Beneath its icy surface may lie multiple oceans stacked in layers separated by different phases of ice. A complex, stratified world that resists simplification. Ganymede feels like a system that has matured, not extreme like Io, not hidden like Europa. It balances structure and potential. In Critique of Pure Reason, Immanuel Kant wrote, "Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made." Ganymede seems to accept that crookedness, many layers, many states, imperfect, yet stable. Perhaps it is precisely this complexity that allows a world to endure. Last is Callisto, farthest, coldest, quietest. Callisto's surface is densely scarred with impact craters, almost unchanged for billions of years. No plate tectonics, no major renewal. Callisto is a repository of ancient memory, a stone tablet of solar system history. Every collision remains unerased, uncovered. In a world that celebrates innovation and motion, Callisto reminds us that preservation too has value. Not everything needs to be renewed. Some things must remain intact, even if rough, even if scarred. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in On the Uses and Disadvantages of History for Life, "Without memory, there is no culture." Callisto has no culture, but it has memory, and through that memory, we understand the context in which other worlds took shape. 4 moons, 4 ways of being. None is more correct than another. They are simply outcomes of position, gravity, and time. And in that diversity arises a quiet comfort. Things need not be the same to coexist within one system. Beneath a shared gravity, different worlds can keep their own orbits. As the narration slows further, as images of fire, ice, water, and stone blend together in the imagination, there is no need to remember every detail. Leave behind only a gentle impression that around a great center, many paths can exist. Some burn continuously, some hide in silence, some are layered and complex, some simply remember. And in the same way within you, there may be many moons orbiting a deeper core. They do not need to merge. They do not need immediate resolution. They only need rhythm. Let each part be allowed its own orbit, held by a common support, slowly and steady enough that you can release effort. Let thoughts drift and allow sleep to arrive as a natural motion without force. After leaving the diverse system of Jupiter's moons, the journey does not accelerate. It softens, like a piece of music that has just passed its crescendo and settles into long, gentle chords. Ahead, Saturn appears not as a weight, but as an invitation. A beauty that is neither loud nor imposing, simply present with rings so delicate and yet so strangely precise. Saturn is where beauty arises not from brilliance, but from order. Its rings stretch hundreds of thousands of kilometers, yet are so thin that scaled correctly, they would resemble a sheet of paper. Billions of particles of ice and stone circle the planet on their own paths, not colliding chaotically, not dissolving, held together by resonance, by rhythm, by the faithful repetition of gravity's pull. Here, beauty is not accidental. It is the outcome of laws respected for a very long time. There is something quietly healing in contemplating such a structure. In a human world so often tangled and unsettled, knowing that there are systems that endure without constant correction brings a subtle sense of reassurance. Saturn does not require our attention to keep turning. Yet when we look at it, the mind begins to mirror its order to slow down, to rearrange itself, to breathe more evenly. Beneath this refined elegance lies a vast gas planet, spinning rapidly, shaping soft bands of pale yellow clouds. Storms on Saturn are not as violent as those on Jupiter, but they follow seasons. Great tempests emerge over long cycles, then fade away as if the planet itself needs moments of release and rest. That repetition echoes a biological rhythm, not so unfamiliar. Even immense systems need time for each of their states. Saturn's magnetosphere wraps gently around the planet, and its moons producing auroras that are softer, more regular. Not overwhelming force, but protection that is just enough. In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle wrote, "Virtue lies in the mean." Saturn seems to live by that spirit, not too violent, not too still, an aesthetic balance where structure and motion coexist. Yet Saturn is more than its rings. Around it orbits a rich and varied system of moons, so diverse it can be seen as a miniature planetary system of its own. Each moon carries a distinct character, a separate story, yet all are held within the same shared rhythm. Some are frozen worlds, some chaotic, some conceal oceans within different possibilities of existence, waiting to be named. What is striking is that these moons themselves help shape the beauty of the rings. Subtle resonances carve gaps. Shepherd moons keep the ring edges sharp, preventing them from dispersing. Beauty here is not a static image. It is a collaborative process between the large and the small. And within this image, a familiar metaphor emerges. Order is not imposed by a single dominant center, but formed through many small motions agreeing upon a common rhythm. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Judgment, "Beauty is the form of purposiveness without purpose." Saturn seems a living illustration of that idea. The rings do not exist in order to be beautiful. They exist because physics allows them to, because history led them there. And precisely because they lack aesthetic intent, they become beautiful in the purest sense, without justification. When we gaze at Saturn, it is easy to be absorbed by that near-perfect image and forget that all structures are fragile. The rings may exist only for a relatively brief chapter of the planet's history. They could be remnants of a shattered moon or the result of ancient collisions. Beauty, then, is not eternal. It is a prolonged moment, long enough to be witnessed, but not long enough to be taken for granted. In existential philosophy, this resonates with a familiar truth. The value of experience lies in our awareness of its impermanence. Soren Kierkegaard wrote in "Either or life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." Saturn does not need to be explained to be meaningful. It only needs to be seen slowly and allowed to leave a gentle impression on the mind. As the journey continues, the narration may slow by another beat, as if each passing ring draws a layer of thought gently downward. There is no need to remember the names of the moons, no need to record the numbers. Simply feel that order can be soft. That structure does not have to be rigid. That beauty can arise from limits that are respected. In the night, as you listen, you may imagine Saturn suspended in space, silent, its rings turning slowly, evenly. And within that image, the mind can learn to rearrange the fragments of a long day. Thoughts do not need to be erased. They only need to find the right orbit. Saturn does not tell us what to do. It merely shows that when each part knows its place, when each movement accepts a shared rhythm, even fragments can form harmony. And within that harmony, the body gradually releases. The breath deepens. Thoughts grow lighter. The journey will continue moving farther outward toward worlds of tilt and storm. But before leaving Saturn's realm, remain for one more moment long enough for this structured beauty to spread inward. Like a delicate ring slowly stabilizing around the mind. And then very naturally, without effort, sleep may arrive not as a shutting down, but as a gentle orbit long since set in motion. Leaving Saturn with its rings of order, the journey does not break away from that orbit of structured beauty. It moves deeper into smaller worlds that are bolder in imagination. Here, the question is no longer how things function, but where life might begin, not under the familiar light of the sun, but in darkness, in cold, in conditions that human intuition once considered impossible. Titan appears first, a moon wrapped in a thick, hazy orange atmosphere that hides its surface from direct view. Light arrives weakened, filtered through layers of mist. And when it reaches the ground, what flows, there is not water, but liquid methane and ethane. Rivers run lakes, gather rainfalls, all within a complete cycle, but with different chemistry. A world familiar in form, strange in substance. There is something deeply resonant in the way Titan echoes Earth without copying it. The same cycles, but different materials. The same clouds, rain, rivers, seas, yet temperatures so low that water becomes rock-hard ice. In philosophy, this is the moment we realize that form can exist independently of content, that order does not belong to any single substance, that life, if it exists, may find pathways utterly unlike those we know. In The Gay Science, Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Titan is not strong in the biological sense we recognize, but it is resilient. It sustains a complex chemical world in deep cold and darkness for billions of years. And if life does not require light or water, but time, energy, and structure, then Titan is a patient, open question. Leaving Titan, the journey turns toward Enceladus, smaller, brighter, and far more fragile in appearance. An icy moon with a white surface reflecting faint, distant light. Yet here near the South Pole, plumes of salty water erupt directly into space. No digging required, no drilling through ice. The hidden ocean speaks for itself, carrying water salts and organic compounds upward. Enceladus does not hide. It opens. And in that openness, humanity gains its first direct chance to taste an ocean beyond Earth, not an ocean of light and wind, but of pressure and internal heat. At its depths may exist hydrothermal vents where chemistry can organize itself, where energy comes not from the sun, but from relentless tidal flexing. Hannah Arendt wrote in The Human Condition, "The Earth is the very quintessence of the human condition. Enceladus gently challenges this idea, suggesting that familiar human conditions are not the only ones possible, that life, if it arises, may need no blue sky, no day and night, no seasons, only a place stable enough for reactions to continue long enough for structure to form. Between Titan and Enceladus lies a quiet symmetry. One world hides its surface beneath a dense atmosphere where complex organic chemistry unfolds slowly above. The other hides its ocean beneath ice, where salt water and internal energy meet in darkness. One offers cycles, the other offers a source. One suggests construction, the other nourishment. And together they pose the same soft, deep question. If life exists, here have we defined it too narrowly? The question does not demand an answer now. It only needs to be held like a small, warm ember in the mind, not flaring, not extinguished. Albert Camus wrote in The Rebel, "The struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart." On Titan and Enceladus, the struggle is not survival against harsh nature, but the persistence of possibility. There is no guiding light, no warm surface, only processes so slow that patience is required even to observe them. As the narration drifts on, these two worlds begin to merge in the imagination, not as specific moons, but as two ways of thinking about life. One grounded in familiar forms made of unfamiliar materials, the other rooted in deep energy, independent of light. In their parallel, the human mind is invited to expand without strain. There is no need to decide whether to believe in life beyond Earth, no need to choose skepticism or hope, only to accept that the universe is far wider than our intuition, and within that vastness, there is room for unnamed possibilities. In the night, as you listen, you may let Titan fade into orange haze, and Enceladus shimmer with white, icy plumes. There is no need to remember molecules or missions. Just hold one gentle sense: light is not the only condition for life. And likewise, within yourself, not every understanding needs clarity to have value. Some thoughts can exist in darkness. Some emotions need no illumination to be accepted. They only need permission to remain long enough, quiet enough, like hidden oceans, like methane rivers, like slow reactions unfolding beyond sight. And as the journey prepares to leave Saturn's realm and travel farther still, let Titan and Enceladus remain as two gentle reminders that life may find its way where we least expect, that meaning does not always come from clarity, and that sometimes in soft darkness, when light has dimmed, the mind finally has space to rest, and sleep can arrive very slowly, very deeply, like a silent ocean opening beneath. After Titan and Enceladus, where life was imagined in darkness, the journey drifts farther outward into the deep cold, where sunlight thins and weakens. There, Uranus appears as something misaligned, not because it is chaotic, but because it chooses, or has been forced to lie on its side, nearly horizontal to its orbital plane, as if the entire planet once experienced a disturbance so profound that it could never return to its former posture. Uranus does not impress through overwhelming size or dazzling beauty. It impresses through a quiet strangeness, an icy world, pale blue, circling the sun in near silence. No radiant heat, no massive storms easily seen, only a prolonged tilt, and with its seasons unlike any other. On Uranus, each season can last for decades. Some regions wait nearly half a century to see sunlight again, Not a long night, but a span of time long enough for habit to become nature. In such extended darkness, there is no haste. Every process, if it continues at all, must learn to exist with minimal energy. This invites a gentle yet deep reflection. What happens to a system when light is no longer the primary rhythm? When day and night no longer alternate as expected? When change arrives so slowly it is barely felt? Uranus does not answer. It simply exists, as it is a quiet proof that order has more than one form. Unlike Jupiter or Saturn, Uranus emits very little internal heat. It is cold not only because of distance, but because its interior too is calm, as if the planet has accepted a state of maximal energy conservation. In philosophy, there are similar moments when humans no longer seek to burn brightly, but choose instead to keep warmth, not extinguishing it, yet not wasting it either. Uranus's magnetic field does not pass through the planet's center. It is offset, tilted, and displaced an asymmetric magnetosphere, as if even the forces of protection are adapting to an unusual structure. As a result, Uranus's auroras do not appear at familiar geographic poles, but in unexpected places. Light here does not follow convention. In Being and Nothingness, Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you." Uranus did not choose the collision that caused its tilt, but it continued to exist, to rotate, to hold its moons in orbit. A form of silent freedom, not changing circumstances, but continuing within the circumstances that shape you. The moons of Uranus bear surfaces that look as though they were once shattered and reassembled. Fractures, misaligned terrains, signs that interiors were once warmer, once moving, then gradually cooled. Not total destruction, but restructuring after damage. Each moon reads like a small story of being unable to return to an original state, yet still forming a new shape. There is something quietly healing in this image. Not every fracture needs to be hidden. Not every deviation is failure. Sometimes it is precisely the misalignment that creates identity. Uranus does not try to resemble any other planet, and perhaps because of that, it becomes memorable in a subdued way. Hannah Arendt once wrote in The Life of the Mind, "The only moral judgment is to think." Uranus compels us to rethink familiar assumptions that energy must come from within, that magnetic fields must be symmetric, that seasons must be short, that an axis must be correct. It does not argue. It simply does otherwise. As the journey passes through this tilted orbit, the narration tilts with it. The familiar, steady rhythm dissolves. There is no clear climax, only a long, slow current where patience becomes the prerequisite for understanding or for accepting that not everything needs to be fully understood. In the night as you listen, Uranus may feel like a metaphor for periods in life when everything feels off, when your rhythm no longer matches those around you, when light arrives later, when energy is not as abundant as before, and yet the planet keeps turning. It keeps its moons. It remains part of a larger whole. Soren Kierkegaard wrote in The Sickness Unto Death, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Uranus carries a history of impact we can only infer, but it does not turn back to correct it. It continues forward, tilted along its path. As we prepare to leave this pale blue world, the journey does not need to accelerate. It only needs to remain slow, allowing the image of a sideways planet to settle in the mind as a gentle reminder. Not every balance is symmetrical, not every stability is aligned. There are times we exist best by accepting our own tilt, by not forcing ourselves into shapes that please others, by letting seasons stretch longer, by allowing darkness to stay long enough for body and mind to adapt. Uranus does not lull us to sleep with grandeur. It soothes through quiet acceptance. And in that silence, as the narration softens, as thoughts stop demanding immediate answers, you may allow yourself to tilt into your own rhythm, not straight, not fast, only steady enough for sleep to arrive very slowly, like a final long season drawing gently to a close. Leaving the tilted presence of Uranus behind, the journey drifts farther still toward the distant edge of light. Here, the sun is no longer an emotional center. It is only a faint point enough to confirm that we remain within the solar system, but not enough to warm or to set the rhythm. And within that distance, Neptune appears not as something first seen by the eye, but as an idea conceived before it was ever observed. Neptune is the only planet in the solar system discovered not through a telescope, but through equations. Small irregularities in Uranus's orbit whispered that something unseen was pulling gently, yet unmistakably. Humanity listened to that whisper. Numbers were written down. Trust was placed in the abstract order of mathematics. And then, in precisely that predicted place, a planet appeared. No miracle required, only faith in invisible structure. There is something deeply comforting in this story, the knowledge that not everything must be seen in order to exist, that sometimes the most accurate truths lie beyond perception, present only as the slightest deviation in a familiar flow. Neptune does not arrive to impress. It arrives to confirm that the universe has order, even when that order is not friendly to human senses. But do not let the quiet exterior deceive you. Beneath that deep blue lies a violently dynamic atmosphere. Winds on Neptune are the fastest ever recorded, not because the planet is close to an energy source, but because it knows how to organize scarce energy with astonishing efficiency. Dark storms appear and disappear without predictable cycles, like deep thoughts briefly surfacing in the mind when night has fallen very low. This turbulence does not contradict the planet's mathematical origin. On the contrary, it reminds us that order does not exclude powerful motion. Mathematics does not create a static world. It creates a world that can move without collapsing. And perhaps that too is what the human mind seeks when it grows tired. Not absolute silence, but a structure strong enough to let emotions pass through without breaking everything. In A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking wrote, "The universe doesn't allow perfection." Neptune embodies that truth. It is not balanced in a comfortable way. It is not perfectly symmetrical. Yet it exists, functions, and maintains its form amid chaotic currents, like an equation without a beautiful solution, but still undeniably correct. Orbiting Neptune is Triton, a moon that moves backward like a memory that does not belong here. Triton was not born with its planet. It was captured. A fragment from the Kuiper belt drawn into a new orbit, cold and unfamiliar. And yet, within that capture, Triton became one of the most intriguing worlds of all. Its surface bears signs of geological youth. Nitrogen ice flows slowly. There are hints of internal activity even where light is nearly absent. And beneath the thick ice may lie a hidden ocean warmed not by the sun, but by tidal energy and internal heat. A world that does not belong where it is yet still finds a way to exist. In the Republic, Plato wrote, "Reality is created by the mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind." Triton has no mind yet. Its story echoes a deeply human truth. Origin does not determine destiny. Torn from its birthplace, placed into a reversed orbit, set in deep cold, and still it forms structure. Still it holds the possibility of change. Between Neptune and Triton lies a curious relationship. One is a planet predicted by pure logic. The other is a moon seized by force. One represents foresight, the other adaptation. And both coexist within the same system, like two different ways of being present in the world. As the narration slows further, as numbers winds and dark storms dissolve into a single deep blue, within the imagination there is no need to understand the equations, no need to remember wind speeds. Hold only a gentle sense that some truths are valid before they are seen, and some exist enduringly, even when placed where they do not seem to belong. Neptune does not lull you with familiarity. It soothes with trust in deep structure, that even at the far edge, even with faint light, even amid violent motion, everything can be held by invisible yet precise relationships. In the night, as you listen, allow the image of a dark blue planet to drift very slowly through your mind. No need to touch it. No need to name it. Just know that somewhere far away a world was once found through trust in order, and that trust proved true. And perhaps right now you do not need to see the path ahead clearly in order to continue. You only need to trust that small deviations, movements apparent as chaos, are being held within a larger structure, one strong enough for you to relax, to let thoughts settle, and to allow sleep to arrive. Not as a shutting down, but as a quiet solution that has always been there, waiting to be recognized. After Neptune, where mathematics guided intuition, the journey drifts farther still into a region of space where light grows so faint it feels like a distant memory. Here nothing is in a hurry. Orbits lengthen, time stretches, and within this quiet, Pluto appears small, distant, and once renamed. A dwarf world carrying a very large story. Pluto was once a planet. Then it was no longer called one. Within that change of designation lies a familiar misunderstanding that value depends on labels. Look closely, and Pluto is anything but silent. Its surface is said to be alive in its own way, nitrogen ice slowly convecting heart-shaped plains, mountains of water ice, hard as rock. Not a dead remnant, but a world still in motion, even if that motion is so slow it can only be felt through years of observation. There is something deeply healing in that slowness. Not every movement needs speed to prove its existence. On Pluto, ice can flow like cold wax gases, can freeze and sublimate with seasons that last centuries. A cycle not meant for urgency. A world unconcerned with what it is called, concerned only with continuing to be itself. Pluto does not turn alone. Together with Charon, it forms a binary system, two bodies orbiting a shared center of gravity that lies outside both of them. There is no primary planet in the usual sense, only companionship. two worlds tidally locked, always facing one another like a relationship without a clear central authority. Here, power does not belong to the greater mass, but to the balance of distance and rhythm. In the Symposium, Plato wrote, "Love is the desire for the perpetual possession of the good." Pluto and Charon do not love as humans do. Yet their image evokes a durable bond, no possession, no domination, only coexistence within a shared orbit. A gentle reminder that some relationships do not require an overwhelming center to endure. Beyond Pluto lies the Kuiper Belt, not a sharp boundary, but a transitional region. Billions of fragments of ice and rock circle the sun, slowly carrying primordial material from the earliest days of the solar system. Here, time is preserved not in vivid memory, but in lack of disturbance. No recycling, no melting, no constant rewriting. The Kuiper Belt resembles an unguarded library where each body is an ancient manuscript never edited, not meant to be read quickly, not meant to be quoted, but to remind us that some things hold value simply because they remain intact. On the Genealogy of Morals, Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Yet at this distant edge another truth emerges. What is not touched too often may retain its original form. Pluto stands as a quiet representative of this realm, a world that carries the memory of formation without being frozen in the past. It changes very slowly. It responds to seasons, to distance, to faint light, as if to say that even the most primordial things are not entirely static. They simply choose their own rhythm. In existential philosophy, we are often fixated on centers, the center of meaning, of power, of narrative. Pluto and the Kuiper Belt suggest another view, that the edge is also a legitimate place to exist. Not everything that matters lives at the center. Some truths appear only when we travel far enough to escape familiar poles. Albert Camus wrote in The Fall, "People hasten to judge in order not to be judged themselves. Pluto was judged removed from a list, yet it did not change because of that. It still turns. It still carries flowing ice. It still holds Charon close. A soft lesson definitions may change, but reality does not need to comply." As the journey drifts past other dwarf worlds in the Kuiper Belt, they begin to merge like sustained low notes. No need to distinguish every name. No need to trace every orbit. Only feel a space where things are allowed to be small, slow, and distant without losing meaning. In the night, as you listen, you may allow Pluto to become a private metaphor. A part of you may not live at the center, not prominent, not correctly named, yet it still carries primordial memory. It still keeps a rhythm faithful to itself. And sometimes that part is where true quiet begins. The journey is not yet finished. Ahead lie even fainter frontiers. But before leaving Pluto and the Kuiper Belt, allow yourself to remain a little longer. Not to search for answers, but to rest at the edge where there is no pressure to be central, no need to prove anything. And in that stillness, as labels fall away, as speed slows until nothing is demanded, sleep may arrive like a silent recognition that even the smallest, farthest worlds have the right to exist fully. And so do you, permitted to become smaller, more distant and peaceful within the very personal orbit that is your own. After leaving Pluto and the quiet edge of the Kuiper Belt, the journey no longer passes through places that are easy to name. There are no clear orbits now, no familiar planes. We drift into a vast but indistinct expanse where the solar system does not end with a sharp line, but thins out like breath in cold night air. Here, the Oort cloud appears not as a shaped object, but as an idea of a boundary. The Oort cloud is not a cloud in the usual sense. It is a vast population of ice and rock, scattered sparsely across tens of thousands of astronomical units. Distances here are so great that light can take months, even years, to cross between bodies. There is no clear inside or outside, only a soft transition zone where the sun's gravity slowly yields to farther influences, passing stars, galactic tides, the broad current of the Milky Way itself. Time moves differently here. Comets sleep for millions, even hundreds of millions of years without meaningful motion, without changing shape. There are no seasons, no day and night. Only an extended waiting without tension, without expectation. A stillness so deep that motion becomes memory. And then very rarely, something passes by a distant star, a subtle galactic tide, just enough to nudge a fragment of ice slightly off course. Only slightly. Yet in such an immense space, a small deviation can become a long journey. A comet begins to fall inward from the dim edge toward the light, carrying ancient ice untouched by warmth since the solar system first formed. There is something quietly poetic in this image, not because it is dramatic, but because it is unhurried. The Oort cloud does not launch comets inward. It simply lets go. As if after a long sleep, a memory is allowed to drift back toward awareness. Not to shock, but to remind us that very old things can return if the conditions are just right. In The Phenomenology of Spirit, Hegel wrote, "The true is the whole. The Oort cloud is part of that whole we rarely notice. It sits far from the center, contributes little to familiar motions, yet preserves history. The ice here is primordial remnants of the protoplanetary disk, unrecycled, unrevised. They do not hold memory in a living sense, but they hold intactness, something increasingly rare the closer we move inward. The boundary of the solar system, then, is not where things end. It is where things begin to slow. Gravity does not vanish suddenly. It fades like a voice lowering its volume until it becomes indistinguishable from silence. The Oort cloud does not close the solar system. It leaves the door slightly ajar. Philosophy has long been concerned with such boundaries, not hard edges of law or definition, but blurred zones where something remains itself while beginning to feel the influence of something else. Martin Heidegger wrote in Being and Time, "The boundary is not that at which something stops, but that from which something begins." The Oort cloud is such a boundary, not a wall, but a threshold. When we think of borders, we often think of protection or exclusion. But the Oort cloud suggests another meaning, a boundary as a resting place. A region where the strong motions of the inner system have softened, but outer forces have not yet fully taken hold. A place to pause without being erased, a place to exist without participation. Comets here have no role. They do not shine. They do not shape orbits. They do not nurture life. They simply remain. And perhaps it is precisely this uselessness that allows them to endure for so long, untouched by energy cycles unforced to change. In Walden, Henry David Thoreau wrote, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately. The Oort cloud is like the solar system's forest, unsuited to speed, unsuited to clear purpose, a place for quiet presence. When a comet does return from here, it brings the scent of the far edge volatile compounds, layers of ice never exposed to light. It passes through the planetary region, flares briefly, then either departs forever or dissolves. A short appearance, yet enough to remind us that what we see in the present may have originated very far away. And perhaps the same is true of the human mind. There are thoughts, feelings, memories that live at the edge, rarely named, rarely involved in daily narratives. They sleep for a long time, but sometimes a small disturbance, a sentence, a scent, a quiet night is enough to tilt their orbit, letting them drift into awareness. They need not be analyzed immediately. They need not be handled in haste. They can be allowed to pass through like a comet through the light. The Oort cloud does not demand certainty. It is a strong hypothesis, a reasonable model, yet largely invisible. And that is fine. Not everything must be clearly seen to matter. Some structures are felt only through subtle effects, like the calm that comes from knowing there is a buffer, a distant safe zone where things can rest. As the voice slows, as the journey approaches a place with few destinations left, the Oort cloud remains as a long exhale of the solar system. Not an ending, not a beginning, but the necessary widening between the two. In the night, as you listen, you may imagine yourself very far away, free from the pressure of the center, free from the demand to move forward. Only a blurred region wide enough for thoughts to sleep without constant interruption. No decisions required, no goals. Just permission for silence to exist, like a soft boundary around awareness. And within that silence, sleep can arrive not as an abrupt shut-off, but as a long, gentle orbit, carrying you farther from familiar pulls, not to disappear, but to rest, like comets sleeping for millions of years at the invisible edge, and like you right now, allowed to be very far, very quiet in a place where nothing more needs to happen. After the Oort cloud, where boundaries dissolve into silence, the journey no longer follows a familiar orbit. There is no longer an inside to return to, nor an outside to arrive at. There is only a direction of attention, looking outward, not to find a final destination, but to accept that some paths exist only to be continued. The probes that leave the solar system carry very little, a few engraved plates, faint signals, a fragment of music, a quiet greeting. They are not sent with the expectation of a reply. They go simply because humanity learned how to continue. Not to conquer, but to listen, to discover what shape silence takes when it lasts long enough. Future technologies, whether light sails, fusion drives, or ideas not yet named, share a modest assumption. Distance is real, time is long, and humans are small. Interstellar dreams, therefore, are not loud. They do not promise victory. They promise only the endurance of a question. If we go far enough, will we encounter another sign of life? Or will we meet ourselves reflected in the vast mirror of the universe? In the myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus wrote, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." Going far in this sense is not climbing a summit to plant a flag. It is accepting a prolonged effort with no guaranteed reward. It is continuing to take the next step even when the answer may be silence, and silence too is a kind of answer. Life beyond Earth, if it exists, may not speak our language. It may not glow transmit signals or have any reason to notice a species newly capable of sending greetings into the dark. And if it does not exist, that absence does not render the journey meaningless, because the meaning of the journey never rested entirely on being answered. It rests in having learned to ask gently without force. Hannah Arendt once wrote in The Human Condition, "The most radical revolutionary will become a conservative the day after the revolution." Perhaps the most radical act in space exploration is not technological invention, but patience with the unknown. Not rushing to assign meaning, not turning every void into a message, allowing emptiness to remain wide, deep, and honest. Looking outward is also a way of looking back. Photographs of Earth taken from immense distances do not give us new data about oceans or atmosphere. They give us the distance required to see the familiar with different eyes. A pale blue dot suspended in darkness, fragile, singular, unmarked. From that vantage point, conflicts shrink, noise softens, and the question, who are we, becomes gentler, less demanding. In Cosmos, Carl Sagan wrote, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known." The sentence does not promise that the incredible will reveal itself soon. It only affirms that waiting itself is part of knowing, that some understanding arrives not by grasping, but by keeping the door open. A future without an endpoint exists because the universe does not follow the structure of a fairy tale. There is no final chapter that closes every thread. Only continuations, each chapter asking its question differently. Within that flow, humanity does not need to run. It only needs to move at a pace slow enough not to drop its curiosity and gentle enough not to wound its inner quiet. As the voice lowers, as the journey seems to reach the farthest place imagination can hold, something simple becomes clear. We do not travel to escape Earth. We travel to learn how to return, not to a location, but to a state of mind. A state that can sit with questions without restlessness. That can remain with silence, without fear. Soren Kierkegaard wrote in Fear and Trembling, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Looking outward is how we live forward, even when understanding arrives slowly or not in the form we expect. And that slowness, once accepted, can become a kind of healing. Now, when every orbit has been traced, when boundaries have blurred so completely that inside and outside can no longer be distinguished, the journey does not end. It settles. Like a vessel dimming its engines, drifting through space, not for a goal, but for balance. In the night, as you listen, you may let the large questions fall asleep. You do not need to solve them before rest. You do not need to carry the weight of meaning with you. It is enough to know that continuing very slowly is already sufficient. That there is value in keeping the gaze open even when nothing appears right away. A future without an endpoint is not an empty promise. It is a permission not to arrive anywhere in order to rest. Permission to ask without demanding answers. Permission to drift lightly within a vast universe where silence is not opposed to meaning, but is its ground. And within that permission, as the voice fades, as distant images grow faint, sleep can arrive as a small, private journey without a map. Not to conclude, but to continue in the gentlest way possible, where going the farthest at last becomes a return to the quiet that has been waiting inside you all along.